make change? I feel like they've changed this every time we've talked about it. Can they keep making changes all the way up until the town board votes? And then it's like,
Yeah, they can.
what we voted on or what we recommended is outdated.
No, if they made substantial changes to this project, it would come back again.
Okay.
Well, we ask for it back.
Yeah.
But they don't have to, right? It could
They
go.
don't have to because we're a recommending board. Remember, we sort of got.
Oh, yeah. But in the past, it has come back.
Typically, it would come
Okay.
back. The town board doesn't have to. They typically respect the CAC, and we'll have it come back.
Okay.
But they do tweak it. Like, I mean,
It does get
the actual configuration of the parking might change a little. The lighting, the planning board has some of that latitude, and it's only if there's like major changes would the seeker recommendation come back.
Okay.
When the Airbnb zoning code went before this board, it got changed by the town board and it came back. Or it got changed back.
It got changed
back rather than
It was
coming
the back and
to us.
forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we did have a say in it.
It's really hard to see in the aerial, but this is what that double stack
Yeah,
parking
that's-
looks like. I zoom in and it disappears, but there's a row of cars here and a row of cars here.
We can see
Like the back ones are trapped. You can see it for a second before it disappears. So that was kind of like a planning board compromise with shift the parking away from the single family home a little and you can double stack it towards State Street.
Has the applicant come before this board or someone from representing them?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Okay. Last time, not this time?
Did they come?
They came, somebody came this time.
Did they come the very first time we looked at it this year?
I think so.
I'm curious if any of the boards have asked them, you said they use an auxiliary lot now that's not connected?
Correct.
Has anybody
fine.
asked, like, why don't you just expand that one?
Yeah, we have.
Buy another auxiliary lot.
Yeah, we did.
It's a pain, but at least it wouldn't go through all this.
No, the planning board did ask them about that. I think it came from a CAC question actually. But I guess that it's a refurbishing building and it does make quite a lot of noise, like more noise than a parking lot.
No, I think what Dan's talking about is a lot not connected to the site.
Right.
And we did bring that up initially when the project came.
Exactly. Instead of anything on South Fagan, just buy a space, tons of space along Central Ave,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I think they have had that question asked to them. It's not something that they want to do. Like
They want it all
wanna do.
connected. Yeah.
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, it's still up to the boards, but they don't achieve what they're trying to achieve by purchasing a lot that isn't adjacent. Feel free to drive by. I think this project is really complicated. And it has a lot of like things that could help, like getting the 18-wheeler off the street, and things that are really challenging, like taking down a single family home and putting a parking lot behind existing single family homes. I mean, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
But if you go out to that Kia, their parking right now is extremely constrained. It's a nightmare when you're driving there and you're trying to get your car dropped off. And I guess Kia dealerships are very, like, in order to be a licensed Kia dealer, the dealership, the bigger company, not Matthews, the Kia company, has requirements. This is like a city lot, so they're already getting a lot of waivers from the Kia requirements, but the way it is now doesn't meet the Kia requirements. And so what they've said to the planning board is if they're not able to upgrade to the Kia requirements, which they're asking for as many waivers as they can get, but for instance, we don't talk about this a lot, but they're expanding the building to have 17 bays. The building right now only has like 10 or something like that. Kia requires yours to have like 24. So like they can't get their site up, but they're trying to negotiate with Kia. According to them, if they can't get themselves up to some kind of a compromise with Kia standards, then Kia would pull their license and they wouldn't be able to stay on the site. That's one of the things that they talk about sometimes.
Isn't this the same Kia that Fusillo owned for 15 years before that?
Yes.
And they weren't under the same type of, why are you too small?
I don't typically always invite the applicants to the CAC meeting. They can certainly come when they
Yeah.
want to. They're always allowed, but I don't like say, hey, you need to come to this meeting.
Right.
So I don't think you should hold it against them for not coming. I didn't invite them. I mean, they
I'm
can
not
always
holding
come.
them against it. I'm just saying if I heard, oh, I'm worried about losing my license, I would
Yeah,
say, hasn't
no.
it been there for 20 years?
So I'm just going to reiterate what they've said at the planning board because I said at all the planning board meetings. This is from them. Is
Yeah.
that Kia has rebranded itself. It used to be like I don't know, like kind of a, not to sound mean, like a cheap car.
Right, right.
And they have rebranded themselves. They actually are considered almost a luxury, like they're going towards like more luxury. And so, yeah, they've put a lot more demands on their dealerships more recently.
Okay.
They've changed, kind of rebranded.
Okay.
So I would like to move forward with the with the secret declaration tonight, if we can. I think we've had a lot of discussion. We've had a lot of contemplation about what Kia's motives are. That's not the purpose of this board. The purpose of this board is to decide upon the issue in front of it. The issue in front of it has been presented to us, whether, and we have to decide on it. And I think punting on it for another month isn't going to get us anywhere. Personally, I don't think anything substantially changed, on the issue, which is putting a parking lot in a neighborhood. And I think that's what we need to decide on or judge on.
Okay,
I
there's a
agree.
motion. Does someone want to second that?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like I haven't been here long enough. Is it poor form to abstain on this, or would that?
I think you can abstain just based on the fact that you haven't heard the presentation.
Right.
Yeah.
The three.
I read
lines.
as much as I
Yeah.
could, and I still feel.
Yeah,
like
no,
don't
I think
understand.
No,
that's
that
okay.
would be perfectly.
Because we've been
acceptable.
looking at it for months.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's okay to just listen on this. Actually, on all of them if you want.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
So
Wait, if Porsche is,
finding.
Well, wait. No, we're not going to make, whether we're going to go through the motion.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, does anybody really object to doing that?
with
tonight?
with Porsche is if Porsche abstaining, like, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Not a,
Does anybody feel uncomfortable? Let me phrase it another way. Does anybody feel uncomfortable making a decision tonight and would like more time?
I feel like I have all the information I need.
Same.
Okay, well then I would suggest we go through, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go through the old findings and then we'll talk about this is the short form or is it a long form?
It's a long form.
Long form and answer them, but I'd like to review what we found in 23. Because I think it'll facilitate this discussion better.
I'm just gonna pull it up. Yeah, I mean, like,
And what I think would help in this discussion is if we go through each of these items, I think we need to ask two questions. Does this still hold from the last proposal? And then does the change improve or decrease? Is it detrimental or does it actually mitigate some of the concerns we had?
yeah, okay. So after going through the long form EAF in 2023, the main comments that were identified during the last review were that pavement around the remaining trees may harm their health. The excessive clearing of large, healthy trees was an issue. There is an inability to incorporate pervious pavement on the site that's due to the soils. The demolition of any homes on South Fagan Ave could create a dangerous precedent, and the lighting could create a nuisance for neighbors. Those were like overarching findings that we had. And then, and I can kind of read the questions and we could, because they sort of go along. So for each question, you have to note the impact. And so the questions that you noted, the main impacts were impact on land. The removal of trees and other green space may lead to increase in erosion on the site. Now, pull this up because I think I'm sharing my screen. Is here. So we're getting into the very like nitty gritty of the thing. But you're sort of calling out F here. proposed action may result in increased erosion. Would that be the same finding this go around?
I'm having a hard time. Can you make that larger? Or
So the question is, would the proposed action involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site? Yeah, so you guys answered yes last time. Your main kind of thing that you focused in on, like A, is will it involve construction on land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet? The proposed action may involve construction on slopes of 15% or greater. That's not true. So you went through these and kind of honed in on the proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal. So that was the impact on land that was identified there.
And what was the impact on that? Was a minor, major, or?
Well, it's, the way the form is written. It's small or may occur, and then moderate to large. So if you click no, small, then you move on to the next question. You're saying moderate to large impact from impervious surface being added to that area.
So go ahead.
I think it's still large because we're still removing all of those trees and putting in pavement. So that is a large, and it's moderate to large change
Impact on
of
the land.
impact on the land. So
Yeah, so I mean, the whole thing right now is grass and trees, and most of it would be turned into a parking lot. So I think it's okay to, my opinion, to say moderate to large there. It's a pretty substantial change to the use of the property there. You gonna say something? You weren't? Okay. The next question is the impact on geological features. Will it result in modification or destruction of unique or unusual landforms like cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, and caves? So we didn't identify that one. It didn't apply. That one was a no. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes. There are no wetlands, streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes on this site. So that one wasn't identified in the last time. Number 4, you did call out. Number 4 is the proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. Your findings were the area in question has an existing high water table which could be impacted by the change of vegetation and increase in impervious surfaces.
Right, nothing's changed.
Then,
Or little has changed, I should say.
I mean, there's a little reduction, but you're still saying it would be a moderate to large impact, yeah. 5, impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development of land subject to flooding. This is land subject to flooding typically from like kind of a designated floodway, 100-year floodplain. So those 2 are no. It does say, would the proposed action may result in or require modifications of existing drainage patterns. The proposed action may change flood water flows that contribute to flooding. Probably not E. But did you guys want to add anything on that or leave that one be?
So I guess I would just say that if anything, that would be small, if you were for the drainage.
Yeah,
Because
so
currently you're going to have to increase your drainage if you're going to put in that much pavement,
yes,
but it would be small.
small on the D into changing in the drainage. Yeah. Okay. So I can add that in there if you guys want me to.
The one thing, though, I think you want to acknowledge is that the intensity and frequency of rain has increased, and that the project, if it were to go forward, the stormwater should not meet like today's standards, but future future
Yeah, we've said
standards.
that note before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Mhm.
I'm saying it
Yeah,
again.
agreed.
So calculation should meet. Sure. Standard. Yeah, I think that's a very standard note for us. Put that in there. Number 6 is impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state regulated air emission source. It does not include a state regulated air emission source. 7 we did hone in on. Does the proposed action result in a loss of flora or fauna? And the findings were yes.
Hmm.
Flora and fauna may be impacted by the diminished open space in the area. You want to add anything or change anything? Okay.
One quick note. Go ahead, Ellen.
Oh.
Lot of clarification question on page 7 of the packet.
Mhm.
6/9/25 planning board meeting. It does say that they intend to keep the large blue spruce tree. No, it's one tree, but
They're not showing its removal on the plan, but
Okay.
the way that they're putting the parking lot inside of the route, like it won't survive the way that
Okay.
they're showing it.
okay.
They'll
Yeah.
let nature remove it.
Yeah,
gonna do.
they're
Yeah.
they're showing it on there, but they're not protecting it. So that's maybe a misleading statement on the agenda statement. You
Okay.
could clarify it.
Thanks for the clarification.
So for number, the impact on plants and animals, it says flora and fauna may be impacted. So I think it's not going to it's going to be impacted.
Would be impacted.
Because if you're going to take it out, it's going to be impacted.
Impact on agricultural resources. That one was a no. Impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. It's pretty specific down
Mhm.
here though. It's visible from any officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic resource. Would obstruct, eliminate, or significantly affect a designated scenic view. Proposed action may be visible from publicly accessible vantage points. Situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action is routine travel by residents, including travel to and from work, or recreation of tourism-based activities. So that one you guys didn't identify.
Yeah, I think that's addressing a broader issue.
Right.
So public enjoyment in that it doesn't mean like the residents looking out of their back window. It's
That's the way
it's
I
the-
interpret that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we moved like that kind of thing to the community.
okay.
I would say that's a no, but what that one reminds me of is the bridge in Scotia. Do you remember when they put a concrete wall on half of it and people got mad because they couldn't see the river?
Yes, I
And then
do
on the other
remember
side
that.
is a metal, yeah, they left it alone.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, I would agree.
So 10, here, I'm putting this one here. 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. Would the proposed action occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource? We didn't single that one out, and the Historic Preservation Committee did review these buildings and did not find any historical significance there. So
That is the same as the ARB, correct? The architecture.
Historic Preservation Committee is run by the town historian.
Okay.
Yeah, and they actually research the properties.
Okay.
The
Gotcha.
Architectural Review Board helps with the aesthetic.
Okay.
Both very important. Yeah, so 11 we did call out. 11, the Proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. We stated open space would be impacted as large stretches of land between parcels in question would be paved over.
Mhm.
Just leave it. Yeah. 12. Impact on a critical environmental area. That one's very specific to those areas that are designated by DEC, and this is not a critical environmental area, so that one moved along. Proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. I think we did make a note on this. Actually, it has a positive impact on transportation because because of the addition of a sidewalk connecting State
Yep.
Street and the improved plan for the new vehicle delivery.
2023.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And is
and,
the new
yeah, it's
Yes.
still there.
yeah, there.
Yep. Yeah.
Sidewalk.
not the sidewalk. I'm thinking
Delivery.
Yep.
It's safer.
The nice thing about the sidewalk is the shoulder there is pretty small and there's a pretty big, heavily used bus stop right on the corner. So it doesn't go that far of South Fagan and State Street. Yeah. So it does, when you're getting close to State Street, it would get pedestrians off the street and safer to the, yeah, I'm a big fan of sidewalks. Off topic. Sorry. Okay. So did we want to add anything else about that? It's probably pretty much the same. Impact on energy. Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh no, this is the DEC form. Our form was, yeah, this is where we just noted positive impacts on transportation, actually. That's just a balance. Then 12 is impact on energy. We didn't really think that there would be a big impact on
Yeah,
energy.
and I don't think there will be anymore.
Impact on noise, odor, and
So
light.
can I just back up to that, to the energy? So are we just talking like the energy from the sun? Are we talking about
No,
energy
it's-
that people are using? Is it very
it's-
specific?
It's very
Because
specific. It's does it upgrade an existing substation? Is it more than 50 single family or two family residences? Does it propose to use more than 2,500 megawatt hours per year? None of those apply.
Okay, but just at the end, like when we add into our notes, putting pavement up clearly changes the energy that is given, from the pavement back to the earth is much different than having trees and grass and sand.
I think Ashok made that point in 2023. It might be in there.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, he did. Increased asphalt may exacerbate ambient air temperatures. I think that came from you.
Yeah. It sounds. Yeah, that sounds like me. Yeah,
Yeah, that came under noise,
yeah,
odor, and light.
yeah.
So you guys had put in increased asphalt may exacerbate ambient temperatures. Security lighting on the site may pose an issue for neighbors in the area.
I'm thinking about like if they're expanding bays from 15, I don't know what it was, from some number to some number.
And the
That's
17.
okay. That's more energy being spent, and that's increasing our greenhouse gas emissions inventory.
Yeah, so this, I mean, you can make that note. It could be a small impact, but because that is so specific with you're not upgrading substations and stuff like that, it would be a note, but we could make it. So we could make it on 14. No. That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we could just note the increase in electricity from the building expansion and parking lot and building and parking lot expansion.
I also think that if we're under this impact of noise, I think we should put in there the comment from the neighbor about the noise from the loudspeakers.
Yes, I do think that should be
Yeah,
added.
that's appropriate.
Yep.
Because we
there's a
didn't include it
concern.
last time, but it has been brought to our attention.
Yeah. I think it also needs to be added around the noise is that while it's a parking lot, it's not like there's 100 people driving in at 8 o'clock in the morning and then, 100 people driving away at 5 o'clock at night. This is going to be a rotating parking lot where cars are going to be started up, or doors opening, cars started up, cars moved, and you saw how that they have to park them, where they have to get 2 cars out to get one, or they have to move 2 cars to get 1 car out. And, hopefully the business is, would be successful and they would be selling cars and moving their inventory. But every time that inventory gets moved, there's a door opening, a door closing, a car starting, and they are going to, if this were to go through, that parking lot is abutting a home. So that, well, we might not think of that as problematic. That is going to be a consistent nuisance. Well, excuse me, I shouldn't use that term. It's going to be a consistent noise challenge for that neighborhood.
Yeah. Door closings. They also.
I might
also mentioned
reword
that,
that the expansion will increase site activity, which could
Fair enough.
People
raise
they're
the
showing
noise.
cars.
Well, that's why you want to make it sort of more broad.
Yeah, and pressing of the buttons to find the card.
Right.
Yeah,
remember
but
what that's called.
I don't think you can actually
There was
say that that's going to be the problem, but I think you can say that the
activity.
general added activity will have an impact.
Okay, so we'll add that in there.
The one thing about the lights, I think a lot of it can be mitigated if they do night sky lighting.
Oh yeah, we'll add the dark sky
Um,
there.
They're only looking for security. They do not need like floodlights lighting the whole thing.
I think some of it can be mitigated, but I just want to point out that a night sky light is not the same as no light.
It's-
No, it's not.
16 is impact on human health by exposure to new or existing source of contaminants. This one is pretty specific to emergency spill remediation and some pretty significant types of unearthing hazardous waste. So we didn't think that one got triggered. But this is where we really honed in 17 and 18. So consistency with community plans. You found that the project was not consistent with community plans. The comprehensive plan goal is to preserve the residential nature of this corridor are impacted by the destruction of the 2 houses on South Fagan Ave.
Yeah, this I think is the issue.
We might want to reword it, but I think it's still true. So even though they're only tearing down 1 home, they're tearing down a lot, which theoretically could be some homes. It's really 2 potential residences there.
Well, it's actually bigger than that because the residents on South Amherst are now going to have a parking lot next to them. And the fact that that is all really CH in there, if you actually, if the way I look at it is, if you look at the map that we have of the uses, right? And you actually look at the CH line, that CH line goes back really far. And if you start to develop this area here, then what's to say that the South Amherst residents are going to say, we want commercial there. And then you get the other side. Next thing you know, you have everything from Morthoff parallel to 5, all commercial. And
Okay.
I think that is the big issue here. Because it's more than a couple houses, Dan. I see it as, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You could lose a whole neighborhood.
Yeah, I definitely think we could add that in there. The
Changes the composition for residents.
Yeah, I wrote could be a precedent to allow commercial encroachment in the future of an entire neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm open to however we want to change it.
I just wanted to make a point of clarification. Because it's zoned commercial highway, that vacant lot doesn't have a right to put a single family home. And it could actually, like, someone could buy the vacant lot and put like a retail store there. Yeah. That's okay. I'm just keeping the record.
Yeah, no, we want to.
But I mean, I do think we've said in the past that taking down a single family home to build a parking lot isn't a precedent that we want.
That is a precedent, and I think that's,
And what gets built there is not for this committee to consider at this moment. What's on the table is parking lot.
So just to circle back about the energy and the consumption, so these, in their site, so Kia has lots more battery operated cars, and they also, towards the energy part of it, and there'll be changing oil and stuff like that. So, does that, I didn't know if that made a difference.
We could add this in a note under the noise, odor, and do you want to add that in there?
I'm not sure.
It's okay to add it in. You want to?
Yeah, I think it falls under the umbrella of increased activity, which is, inherent, there's activity inherent within an automobile dealership that is dirty and messy, regardless of the quality of the organization. And to have more, inventory is going to increase that risk.
Okay, yeah, so we'll just make that even. Okay.
And we should note the point about affordable housing, and that's like the neighborhood where, houses tend to be less expensive and they can still take advantage of our school
Yeah.
district and
I
things
think
like
we said that.
Yeah, that's the next one. So
that. Okay.
we did that inconsistent with the existing community character. This one we noted as a very large impact. Houses lost are some of the most affordable in the entire town. And then this project will triple the amount of residential houses adjacent to commercial properties in that area, which that might change a little because they shrunk the parking lot down. I'd have to
Yeah.
check and make sure that that was still true.
Replace the word triple by potentially increase.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, maybe we should just say increase because I don't think it's triple anymore. I think it's like maybe 2.5. Because this lot used to be, and now this lot isn't.
The way you
so-
want to do is just put more than double.
Okay, we could do more than double.
I think though, Laura, you should capture the potential, would likely add the potential for more commercial development in this area, which would further degrade the neighborhood. Because I think the way to look at this is if you look at the commercial area in this area, the use of commercial area, it forms a pretty straight line from 3718 all the way across to where the Kia dealer is, right? This is going to protrude further down into that area.
and
Yeah, per that map.
And if I could follow up with that, the key here is the predominant character of the existing built or natural landscape. And right now, the predominant character of the existing built is a neighborhood. And regardless of the zoning, right, or what it could be in the future, the Kia dealership, with maybe one or two other exceptions on that whole block, and that would be almost on the opposite corner of that block, is a neighborhood. It is predominantly a neighborhood. And the more encroachment of these businesses into that neighborhood will flip it so that the predominant character will be business. And then there'll be a logical domino effect would just be to wipe out the neighborhood. Because
Yeah.
then it would be a no-brainer because the predominant character would be business.
So Laura, can you capture that? And
Yeah, yeah. Predominant character. of
You said much
existing
more
buildings
articulate
in the
than
neighborhood.
I did.
More encroachment could slip character.
Sometimes I feel like just repeating
No,
what everyone else has already said.
It's been a long day.
Yes.
R2B. Yeah, I got it. Okay, did we want to add anything else?
Yeah, I think that we need to acknowledge that the developer has made progress in reducing the impact from the previous development, but that there still may be large impacts to this area. I think we need a preamble on this. Because the developer did, I
Okay,
think
I'll
you
put
have
that at
to,
the
I think you
front.
have to acknowledge
Yeah,
that this is
fair
a
enough.
better project. It just, we're still finding problems.
Yeah, I can add that at the beginning.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else? Ellen, you wanted to make some notes or put some other stuff in there, or are you good? Okay. All right, do we need to have any further discussion on this project? Okay, I would entertain a motion. Does somebody want to make a motion? And the motion would be either to give this project a negative deck, which means we do not think there will be a substantial impact due to this project, or do we want to give it a positive deck, which we are saying may have a substantial impact in the area, and it would potentially require the developer to do an environmental impact statement.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I make the motion to declare a positive declaration in this case.
Okay. Is there a second on that motion?
I can second.
Okay, we have a second. Let's take it to a vote. Okay, all those in favor of a positive deck, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? And are there any abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay, let the record show that we had no nays and one abstention.
There's
Okay.
nobody joining online, right, Laura?
No.
No, there's
Okay.
Okay. Only 3 more to go. No.
No, only 2 more. We don't need to do the lot line adjustment.
I think you should
I think
do
we should.
one.
Okay.
But a quick one, and that's type 2, or sorry, unlisted, so it should go way faster.
Okay.
I will make a motion. Do we have any discussion on this? I'll make a motion as a negative deck
For the lot line
for the
adjustment.
lot line adjustment.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any abstentions? 1 abstention. Okay.
Did you
Matt?
guys just, which I think that because it's administrative, that
It's
makes a lot of
administrative.
sense. Did you just want to add any notes about it, or just leave it at that? Because the only thing I could think of to suggest is
Square
the
the lot.
lot line adjustment to try and save the trees along the line, maybe, or just leave it.
I would
All right, we're leaving it.
So is the converse true? Would it be possible for a future applicant to purchase the 25 South Fagan Avenue, which is currently zoned C-H, and they come before the ZBA and want it rezoned R2? Is such a scenario possible?
It is possible to rezone that lot, but it wouldn't be through the ZBA. The town board would look at the boundaries of the R2 and the CH through a recommendation from this board and the planning board, which honestly I think you guys should look at anyway, and adjust where that line is. I think it was drawn to be parallel kind of to Albany Street in 1971 and didn't really reflect the way that neighborhood is built. So if we were ever like really looking at the zoning and maybe in the comprehensive plan, it should be a recommendation that zone line falls closer where the commercial actually is.
Okay,
versus
then
the
I'm
Albany.
would it's not the worst idea in the world to state that in some format. The idea of having another affordable home which improves the residential character of that neighborhood at 25 South Fagan. That's
I might rephrase that a little bit, Ashok.
go ahead.
What I might say is that the town should look at the zoning in this area and make it consistent with the use.
Okay. Okay. That way it's not like pinpointing 25 South Fagan, but
It's a broader goal.
it's a broader goal. Yeah.
It's a rezone at the town board. The zoning board isn't able to change a zone from one to another. It can grant a use variance, which we'll talk about in a second, but it can't change the zoning. The only board in the town of Niskuna that can change an actual zoning designation is the town board.
Yeah, but it's bigger, it's a project.
Oh, so it can be brought by a board member. It can be brought by the public. Like the planning board's actually probably going to open up the zoning code to consider daycares as a standalone building in R1 zone. So when you are changing the zoning code, you can amend the zoning map as well. It's a process. It takes seeker. You have to do public hearings, and everybody who's there is affected has to be allowed to have a say and all that kind of stuff because the zoning is very impactful to the property. So, anybody really can ask for the zone change.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we're making this note elevates it.
Yeah. And town should look at zoning an area and make it
Consistent with its current use.
with. Alright. Along State Street.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's go move on.
Okay.
EAF 2025-07, and that is 4240 Console Road, and it's Mizan Kitchen. And part of the background on this property was there was a Stewart's on this site, and the Stewart's predated the zoning code, where this Stewart's was basically in a R1 zone, so it's non-conforming. Stewart's has left that site. They've put a restriction on the deed saying it can't be a store. But we have an applicant before us that would like to put a bakery, commercial bakery in there, and I believe that they have a place to eat in there as well.
They do have some seating.
Yes.
Yeah, they have some seating.
What?
Stewart's is gone. A Stewart's, a convenience.
Yeah,
Yep.
so essentially it can't
Yeah.
compete with Stewart.
It can't compete with a Stewart's. Yes. Well,
Yeah, they're you could have something that doesn't compete. You could have retail that doesn't compete with Stewart's. Sometimes they turn into smoke shops. I don't know if you've ever noticed because sometimes they turn into medical offices like in Charlton, but Stewart's does have very specific restrictions on what can go in after them.
They're okay.
They are okay. They did sign this application. I do have an email from them that said that they're okay with this. It isn't allowed under our code because our code says that if you have a non-conforming use, it can only be changed to a conforming use. So in this case, it could only be changed to like a single-family home or an adult daycare or something like that. The applicant has to prove that it would be extremely difficult to convert this to a single family home or an adult daycare or church. And so in order to get a reasonable return on the property, it would have to go from a non-conforming use to another non-conforming use. That's what she's kind of arguing in her application because normally it wouldn't be allowed. So it has like 12 seats or so in there. If you read her application, she says most of her business is like online. She would expect some takeout. She does do catering, and then there's a small amount of seats in the front. Someday, I think she would like to add some outdoor seating too, but not with this proposal. She is using the existing building.
Obviously, can't.
She's not changing the inside too much. A little bit. I think she's adding the bakery display type of thing there, although it may actually be where the Stewart's display is already. Pretty small Stewart's. Yeah, I don't think she's she's not planning to change a whole lot. She runs the commercial bakery out of her home right now through a New York State license, but her business is such that it would be better to be in a commercial spot here. She's not really planning to change the exterior. She said she might do some paint. The Complete Streets did look at this, and the curb is wide open. So this is Ferris Road and this is Council Road, and it's literally just pavement from Ferris Road all the way to Council Road. So that's like not ideal for pedestrians, but we're also talking about a pretty kind of low budget transfer from a Stewart's to a bakery. So like maybe in the future, or like they said, maybe like a small thing to do now would be to just paint a ladder crosswalk to kind of define where a sidewalk would be. If there was going to be a sidewalk, you could do it with paint for the time being. There's also just this little, I don't think you can see it in the pictures. Oh yeah, you can. Right here, there's a little vegetative box filled with flowers. That's this here. So the tree council looked at this and like, obviously it would benefit from some greening, but she's proposing maybe like a single tree in there. She's also proposing to add 3 parking spaces on the side for her employees, allow more parking space here.
What's there now?
What's there now is this. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, I meant-
Oh, it's just a asphalt delivery area for Stewart's. Yeah, she still needs deliveries, but she thinks they'll have enough space. It's 13 feet. She doesn't need as many deliveries as Stewart's, so she's hoping that that would work to tuck the cars in on the side. So there isn't a lot of change in land because it's essentially staying exactly the same. The tenant is changing, but you do have to look at how that impacts the code. And if you'd have any concerns with the change of use, it's really more of a use thing.
So I didn't notice the hours of operation. Did I miss that?
It's like Wednesday to Sunday. It says somewhere in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, Wednesday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Does anybody have any thoughts on this?
I'm like less clear.
Okay.
This.
Yeah, so the way the zoning code is set up, the Stewart's was grandfathered in.
Yeah, no, I. get
And
all
another
that.
Stewart's could go in there, or
Yeah.
another retail store could go in there. She does not fall into that category because she's a bakery. So she needs to get zoning relief from the ZBA. And what we are doing is we're going to make a recommendation of how we feel this fits within the SECRA law, which is what we just went through. And then make a recommendation, which will sort of provide guidance to the ZBA when they make their decision.
It might make more sense actually if we go through the question.
Yeah, we might.
Just because like sort of the nuances on a
Yeah.
use variance, there's not a lot of change to the land. It's a change.
Yep.
You're looking at the comprehensive plan and the character of the community and that kind
Yeah,
of
I
thing.
think those are the two.
Yeah.
items. But let's go through it.
Okay. So this is short. This is a unlisted, so it's a much easier questionnaire. I like this one a lot better. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? I'll just give you a little guidance on that because I do that. It is in direct conflict with
Yes.
our zoning code. That's why it needs a use variance. Our code would not allow this to occur. So even though you can mitigate that with some site plan review and things like that, I would definitely recommend that it is acknowledged in the
Yep.
environmental assessment form that it is in conflict.
doesn't mean fit.
Correct. So you go through and you say, okay, is there a small or big impact? There's a big impact. So it might be useful to say, well, what about the site plan mitigates its conflict with the land use plan? If you have any thoughts on that, like,
Yeah, I think, why don't we go through the questions? I think we can come back to
Okay,
that
yeah.
and address
something
that.
like that would be, is it a similar use to retail? Like, will it have more traffic? Will it have less traffic? Will it have more noise? Will it have less noise? We did look at this when on Balltown Road, when the vet was going from a pre-existing non-conforming use as a vet to a apartment building. So that wasn't allowed either, it was a use variance. But what we said is, well, actually now there's not going to be barking dogs. Like, there may be a couple more neighbors, but the barking dogs are going away. Now there's not going to be maybe as much customers in and out because it's going to, so that kind of thing. Like, it isn't ideal to go from one non-conforming use to another non-conforming use, but in the past we've said, well, is there some benefit? Because if we're pretty sure that this couldn't be turned into a single family home, is there something about this one that will make sense there? So, and then, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? Things to think about. Would it impair the character or quality of the existing community?
Oh, on that point, has there been any feedback from neighbors along Console Road, Ferris Road?
So the feedback I've gotten so far, but it hasn't had a mailed public hearing, that is going to happen for the ZBA, is that they're sad that the Stewarts was going, but they're excited about a bakery. Generally speaking, that's the feedback I've gotten, but we haven't done a formal.
In the packet, it says like no meat and fryers will be used. I mean, I understand no fryers, so no meat means it's going to be a vegetarian place.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many bakeries have meat, but I also think Mizan it's a specific type of bakery. It may just be the way that Middle Eastern, yeah.
Well, okay, I'm just.
It's immaterial to the issue, right? What they
Yeah,
cook in
I
there,
mean,
right?
It
So-
is.
Well, but the neighbors, right? Again, going back to the neighbors, I would expect a lot less opposition if no meat is actually true. So that's where I was coming from.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Well, Stewart's has a scone that has bacon in it. I'm just saying.
Well,
Not Stewart's, Arthur's Mug.
Ashok's defense, when they put meat in the dumpsters, they smell a lot worse.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Let's continue.
Okay.
Okay.
Critical environmental area, not there. We
Nope.
really don't have any of those in Niskuna. Will it have an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure, biking or walkways? Does it increase the use of energy or fail to incorporate reasonable available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? A lot of those don't really come into play when it's kind of a tenant change. We don't even normally look at tenant change except that it's a use variance. So will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies, public-private wastewater treatment utilities? A lot of that isn't changing because it's an existing building. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resource? It's not really, again, so that's more of an outside type of thing, which the outside isn't really changing. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, water, bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna?
I would still like to say that the CAC encourages pesticide free. I mean, I do see a little bit of lawn out there, and we encourage them to take the pesticide free pledge. If it's okay with Ellen to state that.
Yeah, LED lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some
Our
point
normal
the
things.
existing lights are going to go out, and there'll be, they will.
Usually say.
What?
We have a list of things we
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
Yeah,
Our standard list, right?
And I don't think it's a bad idea to stripe the parking lot for walking.
Yeah.
I would like to see a sidewalk, but I understand the circumstances. But just getting back on this, are we answering these all little or no impact, or are we?
I think the first one has to be
No, other than the first one.
Yeah.
Is that,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that the consensus of the committee?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because 10 is flooding and 11 is an environmental hazard. So I feel like the ones that you'd really hone in on for a use variance are material conflict with adopted land use plan, change in intensity of use, and character or quality of existing community.
okay.
So did this person purchase this
Under
space?
contract, she hasn't purchased it yet.
Okay. Okay. Did she know that when she bought it, that, or when she's in under contract, that she couldn't use it if it?
She knows the zoning doesn't allow it.
Okay.
Stewart's does too. Essentially, Stewart's is kind of the applicant. She's making the case, but Stewart's is essentially saying, we don't sell it to retail and we're not going to convert it to a single family home. So, like, here's an option for you
Okay.
guys.
So I would say a couple things on this. One is I don't think the intensity of the land use is going to vary at all.
It's going
If
to go
not, it's going
down.
to decrease.
It's going to decrease
Right.
substantially
Agreed.
because people
Um,
use a lot less bakery than they do eggs and ice cream.
Except
Yeah,
for
and I also think, so we have this question, like, it's not it goes against the zoning regulation. But in some sense, it goes along with what the comprehensive plan objective is to put small neighborhood businesses that are compatible with neighborhoods that are asset to the neighborhood as opposed to a detriment. And I think that clearly falls in this, in my opinion, falls in this particular use.
I agree. I think the code is written to protect against certain situations, and this is one that we have to look outside of the code and say this makes sense.
And there are other businesses that are non-conforming that are extremely valued by the community. And I would say Mario's is one of them. You know,
Mario's did get a use variance.
they got a
because-
use variance.
because they just couldn't operate as a restaurant with the kitchen. So when they expanded, they had to get a use variance. Okay, any other notes on that one?
I'm sorry?
Any other notes
Yeah,
on
do
that
we have
one?
any other notes? Nope. Okay, so does someone want to make a motion?
I make a motion to grant this project a negative declaration.
Yeah, I will second that. And I would just make a note that well, let's take a vote on this. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Okay, it carries unanimously. So that's what,
Portia is abstaining.
No, she
No,
did.
she
She doesn't
voted.
need to on
Okay.
this one.
Okay,
She
all
voted.
right, all right, all right.
I looked.
Okay, fair.
So what I would say is that the board unanimously recommends approval of this project due to its benefit to the surrounding community and its alignment with the comprehensive plan.
And I'll add our kind of standard list of
And our
pesticide
climate
free and
history,
the
yeah.
night lights,
Yep.
Yeah.
the night sky lighting.
Dark sky.
Okay, we are just like screaming now. All right, let's
So we
discussion.
take action on this one.
The discussion, oh, Broadview.
Yeah.
Okay, EAF 2025-08, 1748 Union Street. This is the Broadview Credit Union. And the situation here is that Broadview Bank or Credit Union is actually in the city of Schenectady. They're on the corner of Union and, is it Palmer? Palmer.
Yeah.
And adjacent to them is a empty lot that used to have a house on it. But the house has been taken down and the applicant would like to use that empty lot as a parking lot, which is not compatible with the zoning code. That's the situation.
Now, it's like,
It had a house on, no, it's park gravel. There was a house on it for a long time and the house got taken down. There's pavement.
So the bank feels like they need more parking spots?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bank before
Yes.
and they didn't need more parking spots.
Yeah, whether, I think the issue here is that the bank's asking for relief to make a lot on Union Street, a parking lot, which is in conflict with the objectives of the zoning, which is to encourage a streetscape.
Yeah, sorry, I have a child upstairs who's texting me. Yeah, so the building did get taken down, I believe actually without a building permit and then subject to enforcement, but it's down now. And that area can't be used as a parking lot in our code. It has to be use variance. A parking lot isn't an allowable principal use. So they're proposing to just make an additional parking lot for the bank.
How many more spots?
So it adds like 14 parking spots. They do own it already. If they are, they get in trouble with me, but sometimes they do still. Yes. I'm not even sure that it's always the bank. I think sometimes people just see that there's like,
There was a
Like
bank,
municipal parking lot.
there was, yeah.
but I've probably cited them when I touch base with them every couple, maybe every month and remind them that they can't be parking cars there. The notes that I had, I think, is that there's a huge amount of wasted asphalt here. Parking spaces or no parking spaces and use variance or no use variance. Like this here is completely dead space. Like it's just a massive amount of pavement.
Yeah.
If you parked over here, you're walking across like, I don't know, 100 feet of pavement or something before you get to it's just massive. This amount of pavement here, it's huge. So we don't have to take any action on it, but we can just give sort of broad stroke things to the planning board to think about that we don't like.
Hey, Laura, this situation came up before the board previously.
So it's actually come even, I think, to the CAC relatively recently. It came as a mixed use building.
But it came once before, I think prior to that night, I can't remember, where they wanted to make it a parking lot. And basically the CAC said it can be a parking lot as long as there's a building
Yeah,
on the streetscape.
similar. Yes.
Yeah.
It was a different applicant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what is the zoning? Is it C-H, CN?
It's CN.
Okay.
Neighborhood commercial. So it allows a lot of different things, medical offices, professional offices, retail, banks, restaurants. It allows a lot of different things.
What was wrong with the building that they took down?
We hear this from developers a lot, like that it was run down, it had been neglected, it may have had a water line burst.
Okay. It
so
was
it's
brick, so,
But it was brick.
I'm just saying, it was brick.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think that what they want to do with it is simply unacceptable. I don't know if anybody accepts that. I think that's the facts on the table. So,
Let's just write it. Use is unacceptable, too much pavement.
well, yeah, it's not what that's zoned for. It's not what the community wants in that space, and we don't need another parking lot in this unit, in this anywhere,
And
close to that.
CN zoning is relatively precious commodity in this
Yeah, it
unit,
is.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it should be another bakery or some such. And I don't think we should.
I think opening this up as a parking lot would set a dangerous precedent for more vacant lots to be developed in this manner. And urban planning and experience has shown that parking lots are the death of downtown streetscapes and downtown areas.
Yeah. And out of due respect for our neighbors, I think Upper Union doesn't necessarily want another parking lot in that area. What they want are thriving businesses supported
Yep.
by the community.
Yeah, it doesn't go with the whole street, including what's in Schenectady.
Right.
So if they want to put a building on there, then
Come back to us.
Yeah,
back.
all ears.
We're ready. Okay, I'll put all that in the planning board agenda
Okay.
statement for Monday.
Thank you.
thanks. Okay, discussion items, Laura. Do we have some discussion items you want to talk about?
Yeah, so quickly, was I put all of that? Oh, that's all that. Okay, yeah. So I don't have the, I just wanted to update you on things that were up and coming. GE Vernova, you guys have looked at their site plan a couple times. They may be making some changes to the little lollipop roundabout that you would go to the carbon capture building. They come up with a plan, which I think actually is a lot cooler. The parking goes along the carbon building, and then they have a lot of grass and wildflowers and stuff that you walk by when you go into the entrance, and more trees. So I'll probably bring that, or I might just send it to you as a report so you can see it. It's small changes, but I think for the better. And then Fire District 1 is adding a shed to their property. 2600 Rosendale Road is a house along Rosendale Road that's adjacent to the Leisha Kill, and they're doing a lot line adjustment to give their backyard to the Nature Conservancy and add more land to the Leisha Kill. So that's a win. And then 3406 Albany Street Religious Facility, you'll probably see this next month. It is a house that does conduct some religious ceremonies, kind of an unusual one. So we'll take a look at that and see if it could get a special use permit. It doesn't really have any parking, but it's something that we can look at. And then the other thing I want to update you on, the zoning code amendments. I mentioned this when you were asking about the zone changes. The planning board is considering an amendment request to allow standalone daycares in residential zones. So daycares are allowed in residential zones when they're shared with churches or other religious facilities, but they're not allowed as a standalone building. Senior daycare buildings are allowed to be standalone, and churches are allowed to be standalone. And we're just having an issue that we don't have a lot of daycare in our town, and we can't build the daycare buildings in residential zones because they'd have to be associated with a church. So, so the amendment would allow standalone residential daycares in residential zones. We have to look at all the impacts, and it would be a special use permit because I know Jengus was like, well, does that mean that people will buy up single family homes and take them down to build a daycare? I think we'd have the same issue with them taking down a single family home as part of a special use permit. But yeah, it's something that we wanted to consider.
Our,
All right. The old town hall is
Montessori school.
Montessori. My kid went there, and a daycare. Like,
Yeah, that's
Giggles and
actually a
something?
CN zone. Different zone.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
our home daycares allowed? People who just do it at their house?
Are allowed. They're actually exempt from our code because New York State licenses them,
Okay.
but they can only have I think up to 5 kids, and they have a lot of restrictions on them.
But this is not talking about that. It's talking about
A
like,
standalone daycare.
no one lives there. It's just a business.
Right, or a vacant, if there's a vacant lot, and one of the lots that
What I meant, the difference with a home daycare is like, that is the person's primary.
they live there. Yeah,
This would be, we only use this for daycare.
correct. Yeah, standalone. It'd be a commercial building for like the Maple Leaf Daycare Center on Route 50. Yeah. So that's upcoming. Be thinking about it.
Okay. Jim? So I don't think we need to discuss that. Laura, do we need to discuss anything about the objectives? What's the timeline for that?
For the
greenhouse.
community greenhouse gas inventory? I mean, I would say I'll email it to you guys. There's some paper copies floating around, but not enough for all of you. So I'll email it to you. Feel free to give me comments. I'll send them to the consultant. Then we'll get it up on the website. I'm trying to submit for Climate Smart certification by Friday. So that's why we have to have the presentation today. I have a lot to do by Friday. And then we'll start working on the climate action plan after we get all that uploaded and submitted and finalized.
There more to come on that. Natural resource inventory, we were asked to summarize the top recommendations for the town board to adopt. How did we make out on that?
So I sent an email to people earlier.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. I sent an email to folks earlier today. So I went through Mr. McPherson's excellent summary in Excel spreadsheet, and I also read through the bigger document and synthesized like 3 primary recommendations. Did some fancy formatting, included some photographs, and you know it's there.
Love
Yeah, oh, yeah, I did the first version, and my colleague Joy Wang did the slightly updated version. She's in the CAC. She just didn't come today. So there are 2 specific things. The big document from Jim, it's some 230 pages or something like that, that still needs reading. Like every single page of it still needs reading. Like I have read through 70 pages now. And if my math is correct, there's about 160 pages still left to be read. And I, at this time, am soliciting volunteers to help me read through those remaining 160 pages with a fine-tooth comb to make sure, you know, there's no XXX and the page, like when Jim says, please refer to the map on page 37. And then when I went to page 37, there's no map there. So, you know, you flag that and go through all those corrections. Portia, it looks like you want to volunteer. It's only 160
Just looking for,
pages.
like formatting and that kind of stuff. Like
No, there's no formatting, just catching errors.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Looking
Yeah.
for formatting.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a good read. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
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 I don't think I can commit to 160 pages, but I can commit to some amount of that.
Okay.
There's a lot of maps.
Love maps.
It goes
Yeah.
fast.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm not afraid of maps.
there's figures. There's
Yeah.
a lot of pictures.
Yes, it's not all
Okay.
words. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a picture book.
It's
Not quite, but
the latest copy is not there to you yet. Like he just sent one. Was it today or yesterday? Yeah, it was today. Okay. So I will send it to you, and then I can tell you, okay, from which page to which
Sure.
page I would need
Yeah,
help.
he did the same with me, too.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
keep it
Wait, can I get you 2 for like 40 pages each?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Daniel. Yeah, he did do his job. He did do his job. He did his job. Okay. Okay. All right. You're doing really important work for
Yeah,
quietness to
so-
you now. Chairman Strayer.
if you want to send it to me, please send it to me.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to necessarily say I can do it. Yeah,
Okay.
and we'll do it. We'll do
Okay.
a project.
All right. So 40. I'll take 40 pages. 40 pages for Dalton.
Yeah, send-
Laura. Chuck takes 40 pages. Portia takes 40 pages, and then
Yeah.
it's
I
done.
want the pages with the picture.
Some of them
So you're going to tell us what 40 pages we have to look at?
I will.
Because it'd be terrible if we all looked at the same.
I will send a classic detailed Ashok message with
Perfect.
with clear instructions.
Clear instructions. Okay, and we want to have this done by our next meeting.
Yeah, and Laura, is my summary okay to?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So Friday, right? Yeah. Okay. And if possible, I would like the opportunity to address these at a quick town board meeting.
Yeah, I told her that and she was in favor.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That is the NRI phase 2. Daniel, seriously, thank you. Like that. That was a phenomenal effort, and it made my job a lot easier.
Okay. ongoing initiatives.
Do we want to just skip to yours and yours maybe?
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever.
You
we
want to
wanna do.
go, Ellen, with what you
Yeah.
need?
So I just need the Conservation Advisory Council to, I would like to start a composting initiative pilot program at the farmers markets. I think I sent everybody an email and asked if anybody wanted to join with me. But I spoke to the people at the farmers market, and they would just feel better if, quote,
It was sponsored by the CAC.
it would be great if the CAC would support your initiative.
So we
Supported.
shall support it.
So will the CAC support my composting initiative pilot program at the farmers market for 2025?
Okay, all we need is 2 motions and a vote. So,
Motion to support.
Second,
Second,
okay,
okay.
all in
Aye.
favor, say
Aye.
Aye.
You're supported.
Thank you.
who says government communication?
And like, yeah, so just make that part of your, when you're doing your updates on the composting initiatives, you can just let us know how that's going.
Okay,
We can put it on our website too.
yeah.
We'll put it on our composting
Well,
website.
now that, I got the text, minutes before I got here. So I do have something to put up and, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because if we put it on our website, it'll-
Do we have any other business? Did you want to talk about quietness, Q?
I should. So Ellen nicely put me in touch with this woman named Vicky and a guy, John, and we met at her house for a couple hours at the end of June. And it sounded like I inherited a website and an email address and flyers and possibly a table. So thank you for all of that. And this is a lot bigger of a thing than I thought, but I'm not backing out. But they literally turned over the credentials to everything and were like, I'm moving in the fall. He's like, I'm doing other stuff. Here's what we did. And I literally went home with a handful of flyers. So I'm working on it.
I really appreciate your effort in this area.
it's a good thing.
a good-
I think we
yeah.
can keep pushing it, moving it
Yeah.
forward, getting more EV equipment in the town, maybe coming up with an ordinance to limit, when the leaf blowers can be used.
And I actually thought that during the greenhouse gas report, that we can tie it to the reduction of
Yeah, it was a
our
great sound bit.
carbon.
That was
So
my-
there's a good connection there. So I think we should tie that together.
No, I
there.
have-
A lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
scope increased a lot.
I can share, Daniel, that, it's nothing secretive. It's stating the obvious. There's a great deal of support from residents regarding their streets being quiet, because the sound emitted by those 2-stroke engines is it's like being next to an aeroplane about to take off. It is quite substantial. Yeah.
Maybe just take it day by day, step by step. We keep the initiatives on here. They're just ongoing, long running. Any little piece you can chip away, but you don't need to do it all in a day.
So one of the things that I think that we need to do though is that website has a cost to it. So we need to discuss that, because I believe that it's like $100 a year. And so we have to figure out like what we're going to do with that.
Yeah,
We offered to keep paying, but John said it would be nice to have.
So I'm kind of confused. Is that a hosting thing or is that access to materials?
Why
we
can't
can
it be brought under
Yeah,
the
that's
town
that's what I'm
website?
wondering. Why can't we get it in the
Exactly what I
town?
said.
yeah. So I think that probably what makes the most sense.
If it's under the town, then they have to-
That's
You know what I mean?
true.
Like, we would have to-
No, I
all
don't.
their
I don't.
governments.
you kind of have to anyway because
Okay, so they own the Quiet,
They
what was the
literally
organization?
pay- Yeah, Vicky literally pays I forgot the name of if they have quiet.
It's an organization.
.org.
but when the CAC and the town board adopted it as an initiative, anything that the town does for it officially is going to be on the town's website. Like, it's the same with the tree council. The tree council maintains a separate website, but it's mirrored in the town's website. And they can't post things that the town wouldn't approve of because it's a town appointed council. So, I mean, we can talk about it later, but
Yeah, I just, it's the,
You're-
it's
a
just the,
domain name.
Guess now that I own it.
Well, it's a question of, I think, what I was getting at is it an official, like, there's clearly there are things about quiet neighborhoods that the town can support and put on their website.
Yeah.
Referencing, approved vocabulary, et cetera. Then there's the advocacy for quiet neighborhoods, which is something the town might not want to be involved in. And I think maybe that's where Vicky was going, was independent voice on their own. Do we need to be the voice, the quiet voice of quiet neighborhoods that the community can participate in without being a part of the town administration and governance.
I also think they were acknowledging again, right? So every time they want to make a post, or
Yeah.
they would have
Who is making the update?
John and they were, I mean, they were
Oh,
pretty
okay.
outdated, but they were
Yeah.
writing blog posts and like
Yeah.
sending email blasts. I think that the reason they self-posted is because they didn't go.
Okay, now I understand the situation, because we had adopted,
yeah, we adopted the quietness
we adopted the
initiative. Yeah,
quietness unit, and I actually thought we had it on our website.
we do. Yeah, we do have it on our website.
We don't have the full,
They have
Yeah, okay, so
the
we all,
membership list.
okay,
Okay, is
so we need
You
to
need
look at
take a
that.
look.
Yeah, I think the question becomes there's a quiet communities nonprofit out there in the world. As you probably know already, as you
Yeah.
learned either in that meeting or before. And so I don't know how aligned that was with that independent advocacy group. And that was like the Niskayuna chapter of that group. And it's not a town sponsored, there's no doubt the CAC sponsors the quiet communities for the town and the pursuit of that. But this might be a little, this is definitely, so you can sell that URL
Yeah.
though.
So
for
Dan,
billions, I'm sure.
what I heard you say is you would take on the town part of the quietness unit.
Correct. I sat
Okay.
politely and I listened, but I did not
Yeah.
commit to continuing the exact way they would.
Okay,
Right.
I wanted to make that
I'd
clear,
like to
that's not
sort
the
of evolve
expectation.
it,
Yes,
fold it into the
Yep.
CAC.
okay, that sounds like a good plan.
They've kind of abandoned it.
Yeah,
they
it's a lot of
said
work.
It's like
Yeah,
2 years
okay.
since any.
yeah, so I mean, we could look at their website and see if there's things we could bring over to our website. And then
Yeah.
if
Did
if
they-
we've got pretty much everything they've got on there, then the only thing that we'd be missing is, yeah, you do have to go through the town for the posts and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to have a blog, I mean, just Facebook.
They have that too.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I don't even have Facebook. More to
Okay,
come.
more to come. Okay. All right. Do we have any other business before the board?
One
Go
little
ahead.
thing.
Yeah.
So the Schenectady County Environmental Advisory Council needs a liaison from this committee since Chelsea
Yep.
Ratner left. So I was hoping we could, I don't know how that works, but you just pick someone, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you could probably take a vote if you wanted. It's probably cleanest to take a vote,
Yeah.
and then you're our representative, and you can go and report back to us. And I
Okay.
can put that on here too. As well.
I am volunteer.
So does anybody want, the first order of business is, does somebody want to volunteer?
I just finished up a co-chairpersonship there, but would like to continue
Yeah.
serving.
Yeah, it's an excellent coach,
I mean-
excellent coach.
Second.
Environmental Advisory.
All in
Council.
favor? say aye. Congratulations.
All right, again.
Dan seconded.
May you serve in dignity and honor and bring us.
So that's two items
Reward.
we did really fast.
Good job.
This last thing, wait, we're not adjourned yet. I make a recommendation that we adjourn this meeting.
I second the
Okay.
motion.
All in favor? Aye. So there's-
Abstain.
It's gonna throw in-
Thank you, everybody.
I think we should table the motion to adjourn.